All right. I'm so excited to be here with you, Scott. Thanks for joining the panel discussion.
You are welcome, Sherry. So happy to be here.
Yes. So today's topic, I love today's topic. I mean, it's all about mindset development, but more importantly, possessing a lion mentality and spirit. And I want to first, before we dive into this topic, because this is something that's so important, I want to learn a little bit more about you, Scott, what you do, and even like how you got into, speaking about topics such as this.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. Without getting into too much detail, I've started, owned, and operated about three different consumer products companies over the course of the last 20 years. Very successful companies, large-scale companies, where we developed innovative products for the retail world. I've sold to QVC and Walmart and As Seen on TV and Macy's and everyone you could possibly think of. I've had lots of employees. I've really been a leader of culture. I've been a leader of inspiration and motivation throughout all of my business ownership years. And through those years, I always felt that God had a greater calling for me. So while I was running these businesses and building these businesses, I really became a student of achievement and a student of why certain people are so successful in life, why some people are mediocre, why some people are failures, like what's behind the realities for why certain people are more successful, more fulfilled than others. And for many years, I developed all this research. I wrote a book called Dominate Your Destiny, which in September was one of the Amazon #1 release books, which you can find on Amazon, called Dominate Your Destiny. That was focused on helping young entrepreneurs and millennials understand what they have to do in their lives to increase their chances of being successful. And this is one of those things where I have my job and I have my work. And my job currently, I sold my last company in 2017, and I am now the president of a large consumer products company that sells to the casino industry, and that's my job. And I love what I do, and it provides for my family. My work, which I believe is my gift, and it's the thing that I'm very passionate about, is serving others, serving the world, serving my family and people, and trying to inspire corporations and their cultures, and trying to inspire the workforce and employees of those cultures to understand what they need to do and what they need to embrace into their lives to live a fulfilled life, both personally and in their careers. So I'm a corporate culture enhancement specialist. I speak to corporations all around the country. I help them organize and understand their mindsets within their corporations. I help the millennials understand how to deal with the baby boomers and and create what I call team harmony. I developed a program that I give at my company seminars called the Humanitarianism Doctrine, which is really focusing a company's philosophies on their people. One of the things I talk about is there's no such thing as a business. There's only people. And people exist among people for people. And the intent of a company is to be successful and to thrive and to be profitable. But if the people are not fulfilled and successful and feeling that they have strong emotional strength, the company will never experience the success that it was intended for. So that's what I do on my culture speaking side. I have a self-development side that I help people become the best versions of themselves. And now I'm really trying to get my message out during these challenging times in the world, because I think a lot of people are struggling to understand why this is happening in the world, why this is happening to them and their families. They need people like myself and you, Sherry, to bring the light, to bring some light, to bring some hope. Not just optimism, but hope. Optimism is the belief that things can get better. But when you have hope, it's the belief that together things will get better. Okay, so there's a little difference in optimism and hope, and I'm trying to bring hope to as many people as possible through LinkedIn and through YouTube and through partnering with you each week, which I am so happy that God sent us together as friends and partners.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I love the work that you do because I can resonate with it so much just from being within talent acquisition and being in HR and people operations. Like, people are the background of a business. And what's so fascinating, what we're going to talk about today and each week, is really around that mindset and mindset development, and how can we build our confidence and build our esteem and build our communication skills. And today we're going to look at attitude. And I think when you examine the attitude of what we're going to describe as a lion, I mean, I'd love to kick things off with first understanding what attitude means to you, Scott, and then maybe you can expand on, a little bit more on what attitude is and how we can embody that lion spirit.
That's great. Oh, I'm so excited to talk about this. I could talk for 5 hours with you about mindset, right? Mindset is what defines us as people, as human beings. And I think in future events that you and I have, we're going to talk more about mindset. One of the essential areas of mindset is this attitude thing that we're going to talk about. And the way I like to explain what I think attitude is attitude is the paintbrush of the mind. Okay. And the individual, holds that paintbrush and actually determines the picture that they want to paint for themselves. So that's a real interesting concept, because it's not ability, okay, it's mentality. This is part of a mindset approach to life. What you believe about yourself is the way you think about yourself, okay? And the way you think about yourself is the way you behave. So attitude is really a product of your belief system, okay? Then your belief system becomes how you behave, if that makes sense. So it's what you believe you are shapes your attitude. So it's an essential element of mindset and the way how you approach your mind. Your attitude is your perception of who you are, and it's your perception of your sense of significance. If you feel that you are significant, if you believe that you are influential, if you believe that you bring value to the world, you do all of those things. Your attitude is that you are significant. A lot of people have an attitude that is, I am not significant. I don't bring value. The perception of themselves is that they are weak, that they are little lambs in the big game of life. And that's what's got to shift. Okay, it's part of the mindset shift. It's an attitude shift. And that's why when we get into the lion, you'll understand the whole comparison here. People need to understand that the attitude will alter your life. It will alter your future. It will alter your life's outcomes. If what I just said is true, and I believe it is, that belief is part of how you behave, it will shape your decisions. If you believe a certain thing, then that forces you to make certain decisions. And if those decisions are not made wisely, if there's not wisdom brought into these decisions, and if there's no wisdom behind your attitude. Now, remember what wisdom is. I mean, people talk a lot about, knowledge is power. Okay. I used to say that all the time. Knowledge is intelligence. Okay. Applied knowledge, the application of knowledge to your life, is wisdom. Okay. So if you've got all this knowledge in your mind and you don't apply it to your life, that's what I would call stupidity. Okay. You've got all this greatness. So attitude will shape your behavior, because if your behavior is that you have significance and value, you will make decisions in life that will create tremendous outcomes for yourself. You can't live beyond the limits of your belief, right? Your life is what you think it should be. If you think your life should be epic, if you think your life should be legendary, if you think your life should be world class, it will be all those things, because if that's your attitude, it will steer your behavior into that direction. If you think you have a life of mediocrity, That's your attitude. That will shape your behaviors. Your behaviors will then lead you down a path of mediocrity. Okay. So, you are what you thought you should be, and you will become what you continue to think, if that makes sense. So, as you can see, it's so much mindset, and attitude is a principle underneath the umbrella of mindset. Nothing can replace or substitute the right attitude. Two people can face the same challenge with different attitudes, okay, and have different outcomes. You can have, let's say you're going in for an interview, a person comes in with an attitude of enthusiasm, of positivity, of feeling like they are an epic type of person that is going to come in and get this job, okay? The outcome will be different than if a person comes in with an attitude of mediocrity and with an attitude of a lack of confidence. There will be a different outcome. So it's all about that attitude. If people aren't happy where they are right now in their life, in their career, in their relationships, they have to change the attitude. And the changing of the attitude will change the behaviors in what area of life you're looking to change. So I think that was a pretty thorough description of what the little word of attitude truly is, because it's a little word, but it means so much in life.
Right, right. I know when I think of attitude, immediately I think of meaning. And I think of how we experience a feeling and then we have a belief around that feeling. And then we start acting, we start behaving from those beliefs. And what you talked about is really evaluating our sense of self. I love where you mentioned that sense of significance and how we show people what we believe is true about ourselves and how we carry ourselves.
Right.
And it's so interesting. The attitude is something that we can control because it's the meaning we give to whatever we're doing in that moment. I think back when I was a performance coach, I would talk to sales reps about the attitude and how do you master the mundane, doing something every single day that for some people, we forget that it's part of the process, and we want the instant gratification. We want it to work out. Yep. But we forget that we are building skills and building strength within the process. And those who forget about that, they forget the significance of how we are evolving as a human being, how we're always growing and giving this opportunity to start again, to change our mind. Yep. Can you maybe talk to us a little bit about that person who's feeling stuck in their attitude? And they might say, well, Scott, sure, if you saw what I've been through, you would know why I choose to show up this way.
Yeah. It's funny that you bring that up, because so much of what is required to have a strong attitude lies in the belief that if you want to attain, I love the word epic. I don't know why I love the word epic. There's something about that word that just gets my fire going. If you want to have an epic life, if you want to have a legendary life, if you want to have a life that's filled with magic, I think there's a lack of patience on people's parts. They want to have an epic life, and they want to have it now. And I think that one of the most important things that I can advise people on is that life is about the granularity of the day. Every day, if you can win each day, okay, you will build an epic life. It's the building of small victories every single day of your life. And yes, it does go down to the smallest levels of granularity in life, but you need to have the three most important words that I always believed in is discipline, dedication, and commitment. And the three of those all work in tandem together, because I have been one of those types of people. I am I am obsessively committed and dedicated when I put my mind to wanting to achieve something. And the best way for me to describe that was, I was always a football, baseball player. I played college football at Hofstra and baseball. And then when my children were born, I put them into lacrosse. And I never played lacrosse. I didn't know how to play lacrosse, but I started coaching because they needed coaches. So after coaching for a while, about when I was 44, a bunch of guys asked me to play lacrosse at a competitive level. And I did not have any clue how to play lacrosse. But I figured, you know what? I'm an athlete. I can pretty much play any sport. This should be a no-brainer. So I decided to agree. I got all the equipment, and I got out and I played my first night, and it was horrific. I couldn't catch. I couldn't throw. It was so overwhelming. It was so humbling and embarrassing. So that next day, I said, you've got two decisions to make. You must either return all the equipment you just bought and not play, or if you're going to do this, you practice every day until you become a lacrosse player. I practiced every day for 3 years, 4 years, and turned myself into a competitive lacrosse player. Now I play all over the country. I play in a 50 and over team in Denver and Florida and all that kind of stuff. My point is that the discipline, I mean, it was daily. There was nothing that got in my way from that. And it was a daily process of fighting the fight and stinking every day for months and months and months until you find these little victories and you were able to do something that you couldn't do 2 months ago. But even if it was the smallest victory, it was an improvement. So I think that people need to understand that if they want to live that type of successful life, they got to slow down in order to go fast. If that makes sense. And appreciate the small improvements, the small victories that every single day can provide to them.
I love that. And that's such a great example, because I think a lot of people are scared to be a beginner again. And of course, it calls on attitude and courage. Do you want to? Are you committed? And I think when so many of us look at wanting to feel peace right now, I want to question us and say, like, well, are we committed then to building the strength within our minds and building the attitudinal muscles that we need during these times where it is a bit scary on the outside? Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about the animal mentality. I mean, I have literally said to people, Scott, like, you're acting like a baby cub. I've had grown men standing in front of me who literally on the inside, I could just sense they had no confidence. You could tell in the way that they were showing up that they were intimidated even by people, by just everyone else around them, because there's this deep-seated thought that says, I don't belong here. I'm not good enough to be here. And it's that type of attitude that, to me, I say, you know what? We can all change and transform. But how does the lion do it? Like, when I call on the lion mentality, and I remember I said, you're acting like a baby cub, but I see a lion. So if you wanna be treated like a lion, then I need you to give me more of who you are instead of hiding there. Can you talk to your experience with this lion mentality and spirit?
Well, a lot of what I learned about this concept, there's a wonderful minister. Unfortunately, he died in a plane crash in 2014. His name was Miles Monroe. One of the most incredible, inspirational. His videos are all over YouTube. But he, in my studies, I learned about this lion mentality. And first off, I think I mentioned it before. If people are not happy with who they are or where they are, okay, they must change the perception and the attitude of who they are. And a good way to explain how to do that is you need to hold your own funeral for yourself. You need to let your old self die, bury it, have your funeral, and then rebirth. And rebirth with a different attitude, and rebirth with a lion mentality. The lion, okay, is the king of the animal world, okay? But the lion possesses different attitude and a different belief system than all the other animals of the jungle. All right. And what's amazing is that, so here's this king of the jungle. Okay. But the king, okay, in reality has limitations, just like all of us have limitations. And he's not the fastest animal, right? The cheetah can outrun him, no problem, right? He's not the strongest animal. The elephant, far stronger than the lion. He's not the biggest. Elephants, rhinos, hippopotamus. I mean, they're all bigger than him. So he's certainly not the biggest animal of them all. He's certainly not the smartest animal of them all. I mean, there's a lot of smarter animals than the lion. You know, he's not the tallest. I mean, right? The giraffe kicks his butt when it comes to height, right? So he's not the tallest, but he's king. All right. Why is he king? With all of these limitations, he's king because his attitude and belief is that he is the damn king. Now, this goes the same way. The lion's attitude and belief system makes the animal kingdom fear him. Okay, all the other animals believe that he's king too. So, and what I mean by that is the gazelle, right? When the gazelle sees the lion, what does the gazelle do? He's like, oh crap. He's like, he goes, I got to get out of here because I'm going to be this guy's dinner, right? But when the lion sees the gazelle, he's like, I have my dinner. That's his attitude. He's the king. So when an elephant sees the lion, when a rhino sees the lion, when all the other animals see the lion, they run. They're afraid because their belief system, okay, changes their what? What I said before, their behavior. Their belief is that he's the king, they are food, and therefore, with that belief system, I have to change my behavior and get the heck out of here. The lion, with all these limitations, cancels out all of the excuses in life about not believing in yourself. All the people who think that they're not good enough, that they're too slow, that they're too small, that they're too short, that they're not smart enough, okay? They are like that because they believe that. And are they taking steps to even change that about themselves? So it's probably a no and a no and a no and a no, okay? When a strong attitude is combined with strong ability and strong behavior towards your pursuits, that is when you are your strongest. Did that come across logically?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So this whole lion mentality is all about, you know, how you approach your life and your mind. No matter what you go into, whether it's a crisis or a winter season that we're in right now, your attitude towards this season is going to affect your belief, and therefore it's going to affect your behavior. So if you wake up every morning and you're timid and you're concerned about your job and you're concerned about your income and what am I going to do and how am I going to do it, okay, that's going to make you cower. It's going to make you weak. If you get up and you say, this is a tough crisis, it's a tough situation, but you know what? I'm going to fight through it. I'm going to look for opportunities because there's a lot of opportunities in crisis. Okay, so change your behavior towards looking not at the, you know, we talked about the silver lining, I think, on our last call last week. Find these silver linings. I've gotten myself just a couple of calls today about things that I never would have dreamed of in the business world. Opportunities that only were created because of this crisis. So there's a lot of good. You just have to be able to go out and find it and change your behavior. Look, what you sow, you reap. Okay? And that goes for everything. The more abundant you sow, the more abundant you reap. So, and reaping is for the searchers. Reaping is for the people that will go out and find opportunity. The people that go out and find opportunity and look for opportunity are the ones that are going to eventually receive it. The ones that are sowing sparingly, the ones that are not taking control over their lives and their families, the ones that are sitting back in a weakened state, they are the ones that are never going to find opportunity. They're never going to find light at the end of that tunnel.
Mm,
So,
I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So many things pop up for me as I'm listening to you. I think of immediately the person who is struggling with self-worth and is maybe even struggling with mental illness or struggling with anxiety, or something's coming up for them where they feel stuck, this feeling of stuck. Because I know that's where a lot of people I meet when I've been a coach, and they'll just reach out and say, I want to get better, but I feel stuck. And
yep.
so because they're focusing so much on what they're lacking in this present moment, they're showing up and they're projecting lack.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all they're seeing. And I'd be curious to hear about what you would offer the person who is working on the mindset, right? Because I know when you talk about the self-belief, I can't agree more that our attitude is really stemming from that place.
Yep.
And what I think about our essential value, that's going to be a whole nother discussion we'll have about like our essential value. But I really think it's that person, when they have a tough attitude, they're just not seeing love. And so I'll always suggest, be willing to see this situation differently. What might you offer someone who is feeling stuck? They want to get better. They're like, Scott, I'm being resourceful, but it's not working out for me and I'm losing that hope. What might you offer that person?
um, my answer to that question, I think you know what it might be, because I think you're getting to know me better now. If you get to a point, if you get to, and you've tried to change, right? All the things that we've been talking about today, I'm not happy where I am, and I tried to change myself, and I can't, and my life is falling apart, and I'm just, all these bad things, and people get to low points in life. My advice, and this is just my opinion and my advice, is that would be an individual, if they're at what, let's say, we would call the end of their rope, that is an individual that I would suggest consider turning to some relationship with God and some level of faith. Because my belief, as a very strong believer in God and in Jesus Christ, is that God's ultimate goal is to have all of us have faith in him. That's what he wants everyone to do. Some people come around, some people don't. But he wants that so much for everybody that the ones that don't do it willingly or don't do it on their own, I believe he intervenes. And I believe that he will create a crisis or an event in your life, or bring people that he wants to be his children. He'll bring them to a place that is so down and so low that the only thing those people have left is to turn to God. And when they get that low, and some, non-believers would say, well, if he's such a good God, why would he do something so mean and make someone's life get so bad? Well, he does that because the ultimate plan in his mind is to lift you up to greatness. And if the only way to lift a person up to greatness is to push them down so low that the only thing that they have left to grab is Jesus or God, then it was worth doing that to that person. And it's not an easy thing. It takes work. It takes reading the word. It takes, again, small victories, small advancements in building your faith and understanding how much God loves his children and how much God wants the best for us. Like, I think one of my favorite verses in the Bible is, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. And after that, it is, he'll give you the desires of your heart based on what he wants for you. Because my belief is that what God wants for me is significantly better than whatever I would want for me. And that's where that faith comes in. And like during times like this, I am in total surrender, total abandonment to God. I put everything in his hands. I am not worried about a thing, to be quite honest with you, because I know that if I don't come out of this well, in my current situation, something so much better is going to come along and it's going to propel me forward. So again, I'm not pushing religion on anybody, and I'm not pushing faith, and everyone's entitled to their own beliefs, and I respect everyone's beliefs. But in your example, that is what I would highly recommend, and that's what I would tell any of my friends or colleagues that I work with.
Yeah, and I can resonate with that. It's so interesting because sometimes I find we hit our knees in these moments and there's only one place to look and it's up.
Yep.
And regardless of who we pray to or have faith in, we are still reminded that we're not alone. And I think the folks that have, like, I think of myself and my experience with attitude, my attitude greatly shifted when I had gone into a meditation and we talk about like death and rebirth, right? For me, I was letting go of whoever my sense of self was in that moment. And I even would voice it and I'd say, God, I'll be whoever you want me to be. I'm just seeking peace of mind. I couldn't get out of my head at that time. I'd been on so much medication and I could just see the thoughts. And I was like, God, these are not my thoughts. So like, please
Right.
help me. I'll become a monk and go to the Himalayas. Let's help me.
Yep.
And I came out of that place with such a sense of purification and this feeling. And then I started hearing God's voice, clairaudience of, I am here, I am God.
Yep.
And my attitude greatly shifted then because in that moment, I healed my mind. I came off of all
Wow.
medication after a 2-year depression,
Wow.
major depression. In an instant, I was healed. And it's fascinating because when I think in that moment, I explain it like I had burned everything I thought I was, and all that was left was God. And it was just me and God. And to me, my attitude changed because that presence, right? I just consider it as a presence, was so loving, more loving than I was to myself. And
Sure.
it was so forgiving. And it reminded me like, wow, this presence knows more about me than I know about myself, which is what you were talking about.
Exactly.
This presence knows exactly what's going to happen to me tomorrow.
Yep.
And yet here I am standing in the present moment feeling scared. Why?
Right.
Why? So
And if you believe that, well, you just said he knows everything that's going to happen to you. It's like it's planned out. And if your belief is that it is going to be majestic, why wouldn't you just go with it? Right? I mean, but that has to be that genuine release and surrender and abandonment and submitting your life to him. Okay. And when you do that, his promise was that you will live a life fulfilled beyond your wildest dreams.
mm,
I think it's important to be in tune with your mortality as a human being. Um, Tomorrow is not guaranteed, right? Next hour is not guaranteed, and I think that people need to understand that life is so precious and life can be so short that you need to live in the moment. You need to do whatever you can to surround yourself with thoughts of faithfulness and thoughts of belief in self and thoughts of kindness and generosity. I have a whole section that I can't wait to do it another time. That's called the laws of life, and it's 40 things that if you encompass these laws of life, every one of them that you bring into your life will increase the fulfillment of your life, right? And it's almost like it's a race. You're in a race with death. I don't mean to be morbid, but it's like we all know we're going to die, and we know kind of when it's going to happen. At least we think it is, and we want to become this person. And I don't have that much time to become that person, right? So I try to make every day now so fulfilled with serving others, helping others, kindness, generosity, and all those types of things. And I think if people go through life that way, start their day in the Word, like I do every morning. I don't start my day. I have a 20-minute rule. I don't wake up. Most people wake up and they grab their phone and they look at their emails, and immediately looking at emails and texts, their mind goes into a negative state of concern, state of issues. I've got problems to deal with today. I don't turn that on. The first 20 minutes, I put on my headset, I put on this very peaceful meditation music, and I get into some type of scripture in the Bible, and I get myself in a thankful place, because I want to be thankful every day that the moment I open my eyes, I've been given another gift. I've been given one more day to serve God, to serve humanity, to help people, and it's truly a gift that I'm thankful for, because it could be taken away just like that. So I think it's a great way to live your life, so inspired every day with a belief in self and a belief in God, and belief that you can change the world, you can change people's lives, you can bring happiness and joy into so many people's lives if you put the effort forth.
Yeah. And what I love is the message that we're both talking about is it's a belief that we can build upon. Like all of us, when I think back to what I experienced, it just told me, it gave me the confidence that says, we think so much that it's going to take forever for us to change. Sometimes it's just an instant.
Yeah.
It's just a shift in this. What can I get? I'm lacking something. I can't see anything, to a complete shift of I have so much. What can I give now? How may I serve?
Yeah.
And what's so beautiful is for anyone that's listening that is looking to embody the spirit of a lion. The lion is fearless, and not fearless in the fact that it's not experiencing fear, but it's still going to show up and it's going to know who it is. And I feel like for us, if we can show up despite what's going on in our life and know that we're going to be supported, that we are just as special as the person sitting next to us, even though sometimes we feel like there's something wrong with us, like that's how we start moving ourselves forward. Before I let you go, Scott, I'd love to learn, just some things that you would like to end with when considering attitude. I mean, we spoke about so many good things, picking your attitude and leaning into faith, leaning into skill development, like you had shared, leaning into discipline. Is there anything else about attitude and embodying this spirit that you'd like to bring up and talk about?
I think the one thing I would like to say is life, life is about sustainability. And what I mean by that is life was never intended to be easy. Life is always going to be seasons. Life is always going to bring you hills and valleys, ups and downs, and you need to be completely prepared for it. It's never going to stop. And the moments when things are so good is the time to prepare for winter to come back in, because you get into spring and you head into summer and things are going great. And then, but winter is coming in another couple of months. And that's the way life is. And I think that it's hard. I forgot where I heard this, but it's really hard to paint the Sistine Chapel. Okay, it's a hard project, right? It's harder to become Michelangelo, if that makes sense. And you got to play the game and aim for. You want it, whatever it is that you do. You want to do it so that it is epic and legendary, and it is done in a small, progressive fashion. And you got to have the patience to allow the journey to conduct itself. The journey, you said that before. It's all in the journey. It's not in the outcome. So I think that if there's anything that I could leave everybody with today, aside from if you're at a bad place in your life, turn to the Lord. That's, to me, probably the single biggest thing, because nothing impacted my world for the positive than when I did that. Okay, so let's call that the priority of all priorities. That may work for some people, it may not. Um, Following that, I think you need to make sure you are a person that brings their A game to everything that they do. Everything that you do has got to be magic. Everything that you do has got to be such an attention to detail and greatness, whether it be your job, your work, whatever it is, that's how you proceed through your life, and you know nothing else. There was a phrase that was called de-seeding the lemon, and it was an individual, I forgot who this was, but they were in a restaurant, a very nice restaurant, and when they asked they got their meal, the chef actually went to the extent of taking the lemon seeds out of the lemon that garnished the dish. That level of detail, that level of epic creation is how you have to view life in everything that you do. And I think if you go on that track, you follow the laws of life, and you're generous and honest and serve and humble and kind and giving, all those types of things, which we'll talk more about in the future, you're always going to stay on the right path.
So powerful. Thank you for sharing that, Scott.
You're welcome.
And we're going to be kicking off even more of a discussion going into mindset. So many details to come, talking about the ego mind, talking about strength building and confidence building. And there's so many different things that we're going to touch on. I think the last thing that I'd leave us with is similar to what Scott was talking about, how the journey is the joy. And
Yes.
in terms of our attitude, it's really our choice, and nobody can choose it for us, which is why I think sometimes we feel powerless, because we're like, I want to be happy and I want to be showing up a different way, but I feel like this. And so I think there's a certain amount of acceptance that has to take place, like wherever you are, with whatever attitude you've been embodying to this point, accept it, but then understand that this next moment offers you another moment to choose again. You don't have to be a hostage to your past. And I think us as human beings is we can look at others and not hold them hostage to their past. We look at others and think, well, you've always acted like this, so I'm going to expect you to act like this moving forward. And that's not fair.
Yeah.
When I think about how we can show up and have an attitude of appreciation for ourselves, but also for others,
Yeah.
it teaches us things like compassion and empathy and so many things that just, it all humbles us down to the realization that we're human.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. One of the topics I'd love to get a little bit more deeper on, and I know there's not enough time today, but really one of the things that I failed to mention just popped into my head was, every individual must also understand what their purpose is, what their why is, what their reason for living is. It's the meaning of life, the reason why you were created, why you exist. It's so important that you understand, you try to find the thing you were born to do, or the original intent of why you exist. And if you don't have that, you've got a lot of work to do. You need to know who you are. And the other thing that, and we'll get to at another point, a little bit more detail, is people need to each individual has to realize how incredible it is that they exist. People need to learn to be themselves, because you know what? Everybody else is taken. Okay, you got to be yourself. The seven wonders of the world can't hold a candle to the one creation of you. And I'd love to get into that topic some other time, but when you look in that mirror, you've got to love what you see, because that's who you are. That's all you've got. That's the vehicle that God gave you to achieve all the things that you were put on earth to achieve. You got to understand what those things are that you were supposed to achieve here. And maybe that's another topic that we get into, because that's a really important part of life, is understanding your why.
Yeah. And 100%, we're going to make a video for those listening that'll be specifically on understanding our purpose and our why and who we are and what that essential value is that we all hold. So with that, thank you so much, Scott, for your
Great.
time.
It's such a pleasure. I love doing this every week with you. I love helping you, impact lives and inspiring lives. And I only hope that people listen to this and share it with their friends, and we get more and more people coming on board to listening to us.
Same. Take care, everybody.
Okay. Bye bye, everybody. Thank you.